Okay, so today I will speak about EMSO. It's a general introduction. I will make it short. If you have any question, in any case, of course, it's welcome. So EMSO stands for European Multidisciplinary Seafloor and Water Column Observatory. It's a European Research Infrastructure Consortium like ICOS. Our motto is, or our motivations comes from the fact that for us, supporting the sustainable management of our oceans through our integrated capacity to observe, study, and understand it from its deepest part of the upper water column and long term. And the key word here is integration. Integration capacity means that we want to work with several types of systems, the moving ones, the fixed one on the seafloor and on the water column, and we are also using cables. And we want to work on long-term and repeat section. I think it's important. We don't want to use observations that are acquired just once. Our strategy is science and society driven. And as such, our mission is summarized in 2 sentences, one which is about the research infrastructure and one about the operational scope. And I'm going to read, because first it's important to tell that we are a European marine research infrastructure, that we, EMSO ERIC, aim to advance knowledge of deep ocean and the water column processes in key oceanic regions in the context of global change. You will see that our topics are really cross-cutting the context of global change. For the operational scopes, this is the provision of services for the long-term repeated observation, and this is key, the analysis of the essential ocean variable, as well for other physical, biological, and environmental variables retrieved by water columns and deep sea observatories. On the right part here, you can see, so I'm using the pointer, you can see the socio-economic challenges in blue and the EMSO driving scientific topics that are paving the way for our scientific strategy. So you can see that it is broad, and Aljaz will further introduce how we have focused our scientific strategy with key scientific questions. You can see here our regional facilities or our regional sites, and we try to be as much as we can integrative in terms of scientific disciplines. EMSO ERIC is a legal entity which is gathering 8 countries. Italy is host, and there are also France, Greece, Ireland, Portugal, Romania, Spain, and Norway. It's a legal entity since 2016. It's organized with a general assembly like any other ERIC, general director, the central management office that you can see today and here. We have an executive committee. This is an important committee, which is gathering the service group leader, where we have a group for communication, data management, engineering and logistics, innovation and industry and science, and the leaders of the regional teams. And you see here the list of the regional teams, and the regional teams are those for the regions that you could see on the map. So all these leaders are working together in the with me and the CMO to implement, to execute the decision of the Assembly of Members. And we have a scientific, technical, and ethical advisory committee. So, in a nutshell, we are operating about 14 regional facilities that are including 11 deep sea observatories and 3 test sites. EMSO offers long-term time series of multidisciplinary, synchronized, high-resolution, and near real-time marine data. Our infrastructure are providing power, energy and communication systems, sensors, and shallow water facilities for testing new devices through interactive ocean observation. We give access to observatory node for developing new experiment. On the map, you can see there are two categories of point, if I can say like that. The biggest one are the normal traditional deep regional facilities, and the little green one are the testing site. So OBSI, Molen Island, which is now moving to the Bay of Brest, Smart Bay. We are operating two categories of services. I would say the upstream and the downstream. Sometimes it's confusing. Upstream means I would say the more important one, the generic one, the basic one, to which are depending the downstream services. If we don't have the upstream services, like the measurements, the data acquisition, they cannot be downstream services which are for any users. So the main upstream services are the federated observational services, usually. And when I arrived in EMSO, I made the constat that this was not considered as a service, whereas it is costing the most, and this is costing the most energy because operating observation at 2,000 meter or 3,000 meter is not peanuts. It's not like just on the beach. So this is an important service for data acquisition, data generation. And one challenge of EMSO is that we are making measurement in a very long list of parameters, sensor and sensors. So you see accelerometer, magnetometer, seismometer, gravimeter, pressure gauge, CTD, temperature, ADCP, oxygen, pH, CO2, chlorophyll, fluorescence, turbidity, hydro. There are also sounds with hydrophones, video images with camera, and so on and so on. So we are acquiring about 128 in situ observation, and the platforms are various. This is with this pie here. We can see the blue is about the cable seafloor observatory, the dark blue. The light blue is about surface buoy. You can see the light green is mooring line. The dark green is greener, and then there are other little systems. We are operating also the federation of the data. So we have to harmonize the data. Data are acquired at local site, and pre-processing is done there. But we have to harmonize, and this is a downstream services. And Aljaz will speak more about this. For the downstream services, of course, we have the service for the physical access to any users. It's like TA, but TA is following the rules of Horizon Europe, whereas physical access is broader. Physical access are providing access to high-quality instrumented platforms for open ocean activities. New technology, new procedure experiment that can be tested and or taken on place. We are providing training, co-development opportunities with experienced engineers and scientists. We provide access to tailored data collection services and continuous availability with. So there is a continuous availability of the physical access with a cutoff for proposals evaluation every 2 months. You can see here the type of users. The main users are from the research centers, and then comes university. And in gray, we have SMEs as well. If you look at the country distribution, most of the users are from UK, then comes Sweden, then Germany and Czechia. And the green is for Spain. And here we have France. Then the data service for discovery and retrieve of the data is the data portal. I guess Aljaz will speak about it, whom I'm skipping. And just before last slide, I just want to speak about the vision of EMSO. So our 2035 vision is that EMSO will be recognized as a leading European body for long-term observation and analysis of European marine environment variability and marine geohazard from the seabed to the water column. And what is the underlying meaning of that? In that we are moving from the fixed platform and from the local scale of observation towards something which is more regional. So we are moving from the left-hand picture to the right-hand picture. And this is important because some people are still thinking that we are doing only a fixed point observation. And to do this, to make this feasible, we need to collaborate with our brother research infrastructure. So we are collaborating with ICOS as in the George project, because ICOS is dealing with the upper layer of the sea and the exchange with the atmosphere, but we are also cooperating. We have to cooperate with Euro-Argo to acquire, to have data coming from the intermediate layer, with EPOS for the tsunami and the cable business, with the MBRC for the biodiversity, and with Jericho to connect, I would say, the ocean ecological system on the coastal area with the offshore one. And to close this speech, I just want to give a save the date message. The EMSO anniversary, that will be the 15th, 16th of December in Rome. The 15th December is for scientists, it's a science day. And the 16th of December is for scientists and the delegation of ministry and European Commission. It will be organized with 2 half days, the morning session, which is for the information, the afternoon session, which is for the anniversary after 10 years. So this is a quite important date, and please, you're all welcome. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. Thank you again for joining today. My name is Marco Galeotti. I'm the Program and Industry Relations Officer at EMSO ERIC, as Maria already said. And over the next 10 minutes, I will walk you through why we are actively looking to grow our network. What kind of facilities can join us, what you will gain by joining, and the concrete steps to take if you are interested. So let me start briefly with a recap of what EMSO is, or after the Director General presentation, just to create the basis for what I will be saying later. So EMSO is an European Research Infrastructure Consortium, born as such in 2016, but we have been on the S3 roadmap since 2006. What we do in essence is coordinate fixed point and mobile observatories across all European sea basins, as Ingrid already said, producing continuous long-term data sets that no single national program would ever sustain on its own. The data we deliver is multidisciplinary by design, physical, biogeochemical, biological, and acoustic time series, all collected in a coordinated way across the network. Today, as Ingrid said, EMSO has 8 member states, Italy, which was the ERIC, together with Spain, Portugal, France, Ireland, Norway, Greece, and Romania. So why are EMSO looking to grow the network? The simple answer is that the ocean does not stop at national borders, and neither should our observation of it. The challenges we are tracking, climate change, ocean acidification, natural hazards such as earthquakes, tsunamis, and submarine landslides, and the loss of marine biodiversity are all pan-European and global in scope. They demand continuous multidisciplinary observation across all basins. So every new facility that joins EMSO just improve our spatial coverage, reduce observational gaps, and give the scientific community and policymakers a richer picture of the ocean as a single interconnected system. So expansion is not optional for EMSO. It is how we rise to the scale of the problem. So who can join EMSO? This is the key point I want to emphasize, because there is often a misconception here, because at the beginning EMSO was just fixed point observatory. The range of facilities that can join EMSO today is broader than in the past. The defining criteria is a meaningful one, sustained contribution to one observation and data, not only the physical location of the facility. So concretely, we recognize 5 categories of eligible facility. The first three are observation facilities, fixed in situ systems such as long-term seafloor observatories and moored platforms, the moving autonomous systems such as AUVs, gliders, and profiling floats, and test sites for technology validation and demonstration at sea. Then we have two further categories that are equally eligible: data and computational components, which means IT and data centers, i.e. powered ocean data hubs, cloud repositories, and IoT sensor networks, and ground-based calibration facilities, which support the quality and traceability of ocean observation data. So data center and calibration laboratories are fully eligible to join as EMSO regional facilities. You do not necessarily need to operate a platform at sea to be part of EMSO. So let me turn to what your facility eventually can gain by joining EMSO. We see 5 main benefits. First, EU-funded project participation. EMSO facilities are active partners in Horizon Europe projects. As a regional facility, your team gains direct access to project consortia, funding flows, and collaborative research networks across Europe. Second, knowledge and training through the EMSO Academy. This is our continuously improving knowledge base of shared best practices, technical standards, and training events developed by the whole community. Third, also under the EMSO Academy, our mobility program. Your scientists and engineers can spend time at other EMSO nodes, and you can ask colleagues from other facilities. This builds shared expertise across the network. Fourth, visibility and recognition. Your facility becomes part of a recognized ESPRI landmark infrastructure, which increases your scientific credibility and impact and your policy relevance at the European international level. And fifth, access to shared services. EMSO has dedicated service group for science, engineering, data, communication, and innovation, as the Director General already presented. All regional facilities have access to them and take advantage of the huge work the groups are doing to evolve EMSO. So, how do you actually join EMSO if your country is already an EMSO member? The process has 5 main steps, and it is designed to collect enough information to understand how much support your facility needs to integrate into EMSO. Step 1 is the submission phase. Your country's EMSO delegate submits a formal letter of intent to the chair of our assembly members with a short description of your facility. The assembly member then performs a preliminary acceptability check, looking at whether the facility fits the EMSO definition, whether it potentially aligns with our key scientific questions, and whether you have at least 3 years of financial operational sustainability behind you. Step 2 is the assessment phase, led by our executive committee. Here, we look in detail at scientific alignment with the EMSO strategy, technical compatibility with our operational, engineering, and data management practices, and your contribution potential to the EMSO Academy. The executive committee then classifies the facilities on a compatibility scale from 1 to 5. This just tells us what kind of support your facility will need to integrate fully. Step 3 is the decision. The Director General brings everything to the Assembly of Members, which takes the final decision through a majority vote. Step 4, if the vote is positive, is the integration phase. You sign a service level agreement defining your in-kind contribution in terms of access, services, and person months, and your team is integrated into our service groups. Step 5 is monitoring. For the first 2 years. The executive committee performs periodic assessment to make sure the integration is going smoothly, and the Central Management Office provides dedicated onboarding support throughout. So to conclude, if your facility is based on one of the 8 EMSO member states Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, Ireland, Norway, Greece, or Romania. The door for your facility is already open today. You do not need a fully developed application to start the conversation with us. All it takes is a discussion with your national EMSO delegate. The Central Management Office is also available to answer questions and provide guidance long before you commit to anything formal. And if your country is not yet an EMSO member, please contact me. We will figure out. I will be happy to walk you through the possible next steps. New members benefit the entire European ocean science community and contribute to evidence-based ocean policy at the EU international level. So thank you very much for your attention. You can find in the slide my contact details, and I would warmly invite you to reach out either to your national EMSO delegate or to me to understand if we can work together through the submission of your proposal to join EMSO. Thank you.
So, thank you all. My name is Aljaz Maslo. I am ERIC Data and Science Officer. So I will tell you a little bit about EMSO key scientific questions. So I was thinking to make this thing a little bit more interesting, to go a little bit backwards, so tell you how this document came from. So I will start with the Science Service Group. This is a body of EMSO that deals all about science. So in this group, we have monthly meetings and we discuss all open questions. And in this group, we prepare the first draft of EMSO Science Strategy 2025-2034. And the goal of this strategy is to have a common scientific direction across heterogeneous research infrastructures. So this document is like a glue for all the research facilities. If I also use another analogy, is like on the boat, you have to row all in the same direction. In this document, it's something like this. So once this group prepared the first draft, we decided that we need some feedback. And so this draft was discussed at the EMSO strategic workshop in 2000 last year. And there it was refined further with this feedback. But I want to also mention that EMSO Science Strategy is structured around 4 major topics. And the topics address major societal and environmental challenges. And each topic then is associated with a case scientific question. Because as scientists, we like to answer some question, find some answers to the questions. So the first key scientific question is open ocean temperature variability across spatial scales. And the topic is about monitoring of open ocean variability is fragmented, limiting our understanding of long-term trends and interaction across spatial and temporal scales. And the question is, how does the open ocean temperature variability impact and propagate from local to regional scales? And in this regard, in science group, we are already working on an article which is about scientific validation of long-term EMSO temperature, salinity, and dissolved oxygen time series. And you can see in this figure on the right that different scales and temporal and spatial scales are all a little bit interconnected. And I was thinking about this famous butterfly effect. Now that you know that if a butterfly fly in one part of the world can have effects on totally on the weather on the totally different part of the world. So in science, everything is connected. So let's go to the next scientific question. And this scientific question is dealing with the topic of spatio-temporal processes, variability, and natural hazards. It's about changes in the open ocean can influence sediment dynamics, fluid flow activity, and stress conditions affecting submarine landslides, earthquakes, and tsunamis. And the key scientific question is, what are the spatio-temporal scales and variability of the processes preconditioning and triggering natural hazards events? In this question, we are just starting to build an article. And you can see that also in this regard, everything is interconnected, as you can see on the figure on the right. So if we can go to the case scientific question 3, this is about topic open ocean benthic and pelagic ecosystems, because marine ecosystems are shaped by interacting environmental, climatic, and anthropogenic processes across multiple spatial and temporal scales. And the key scientific question here is, what are the impacts of natural environmental variability, geophysical dynamic events, and anthropogenic changes on open ocean benthic and pelagic ecosystems? So, as you can see, in EMSO, some facilities have submarine cameras, and they can track or define different species of even fish using AI. And in this regard, we also are working on article inside the group. It's about biological environmental coupling across EMSO regional facilities for understanding ecosystem variability. And we go already to the last key scientific question. Here the topic is about deep ocean carbon storage. The deep ocean is a major carbon reservoir, but the processes controlling carbon storage and transfer along the water column are still poorly understood. Here, the key scientific question is how the climate change affects the carbon storage in open ocean along the water column. Here, it's important to point out that EMSO is focused on the deep ocean, while for example, our other ERICs, for example, ICOS is focused on the surface. So we are collaborating also with other infrastructures. And in this, related to this case scientific question, we also are working on an article about carbon sequestration and storage observations across EMSO regional facilities. So this slide is just like a sum up of all the case scientific questions, if you later would like to check it out. And for summary, so these case scientific questions are like a glue, as I said, for heterogeneous EMSO regional facilities. They enable coordinated long-term observations, because usually when we work in the project, these are 3-4 years maximum projects. So we need some institution like EMSO to work on the long term, to have a collaborative goal on the long term. And in this way, EMSO shows its added value, because it's greater than the sum of its parts. And thank you very much. And now we'll give the floor to our engineering officer, Simo Cusi.
Okay, so to do all this work that Aljaz was explaining, to do this science, we need to have observations in the sea, which is not easy, because the conditions are pretty rough. So here I wanted to explain a bit what technologies we use, what kind of sites we are observing. And I think it's also interesting to know a bit the technology, because since this webinar is focused on the data part, you need to know where the data is coming from and why, for example, sometimes some data can be bad or something like that. No? So if you know how the technologies are operated, you can know better the data you are using. So I will make just an overview of what is in EMSO, which is very broad, because as has been said before, EMSO is quite an heterogeneous ERIC. Many of the facilities were there before EMSO was built or created, so each one has their own history. And what we are trying to do here is putting things together and working in the same line. So as it was said before, EMSO is composed of 14 regional facilities. 3 of them are test sites. We have one in Ireland, one in France, and one in Spain. And then 11 deep sea observatories. These observatories, some of them have more than one site, no? So this is why we have more sites than observatories. Because sometimes one regional facility might be run also by different institutions. This can happen, and each institution is running a site. Usually the sites are close to each other, but they can have, for example, different kind of scientific goals and so on. So the institutions in the regional facilities can be more science-oriented. So they are mostly interested in doing science, solving the questions that Aljaz presented before. And some of them are more focused on developing technology to monitor the ocean. Some of them are doing both. So they are doing a bit of technology and a lot of science, or a bit of science and a lot of technology. In EMSO, there is a lot of diversity of technologies, but maybe some of the distinctions we could make, for example, is cabled versus standalone observatories. This is quite a big difference, because if you have a cabled observatory, you have power from the shore. You can transfer data through fiber optics. So it's quite a different concept than if you have an offshore observatory that is running on batteries and doesn't transmit data in real time, or if it does it through satellite, which is kind of expensive and limited in terms of rate of data transfer. Then we would have, as it has been said before, the fixed versus mobile platforms. Now we are incorporating mobile platforms in the consortium. So we want to extend the observation to regions, and like that we can have a better understanding of what is happening in the fixed platforms. No? So combining both platforms, you can understand better the process that is happening. And yeah, for each science, there is a lot of different instruments, as Ingrid was presenting before. Then I will also go a little bit through them, but we have a lot of different sensors, platforms, and all that. So just for a clarification, also we are, and this also might have impact on the data sets, because we are kind of organizing a little bit better our infrastructure. We have regional facilities, that is, for example, the ones in green, and each regional facility can have different sites, and each site can have different platforms. It's kind of a logical thing, but it takes time to put everyone to agreeing on this concept and implementing it. So, for example, the Azores has 4 sites, and each site has different platforms. So going a bit through the test sites are mostly used for testing technology that then can be also validated in deeper scenarios. But these test sites are mostly devoted to technology testing. So they also provide oceanographic data, but it's more like coastal, because they are usually shallow and close to shore, which makes them easy to access and easy to make tests, because this reduces the price of testing. You can go there with a rig boat, with divers, and do work and test a lot of things. So, for example, on the top images here, you can see that, as Aljaz was saying, we are testing artificial intelligence for fish recognition. We are also trying to incorporate the same kind of intelligence, but for smaller things like phytoplankton, zooplankton, using more specialized cameras. And yeah, so these test sites are cabled and they have unlimited energy. So you can have different kinds of experiments on them. Then we have the observatory sites. These are more like oceanographic, like observatory for science offshore. The deepest one is the Canarias one that will be presented just after me by Eric. They provide very long time series of data, some of them from the 90s. So they are they have a long history, and they are very valuable for understanding what is happening on the ocean. But of course, they have requirements that are more difficult for logistical and maintenance issues. And they also are very different in terms of platforms and instruments they use, because they were built for different kinds of science. Here we have some more sites. So this is just pictures to show you how the different sites, how the operations look like. For example, on the left, top left, we have a seabed station being manipulated by an ROV, a remote operated vehicle. We have surface buoys, we have seafloor stations, we have vertical profilers. So a lot of different kind of technologies. So the platforms that we have can be fixed, as we said, and mobile. Fixed, we can have cable seafloor observatories, standalone seabed observatories, moorings with buoy or without buoy, vertical profilers. And now lately, we are also putting a lot of emphasis on using these cabled observatories to also sense the environment. So with these fiber optics cables, you can also use these cables to sense the environment and use it for acoustics, but also for oceanography. This is now a big topic that is being developed, and we are also pushing for having smart nodes, that these nodes use the telecom operators' infrastructure to sense the bottom of the sea. This can be used for tsunami, for climate change, and all that. And then we are introducing mobile systems, crawlers that crawl around on the seabed, around the fixed observatories, gliders that can cover longer distances and stay for a long time in the ocean, and then mobile landers and autonomous underwater vehicles. Here are some more pictures of different platforms that we are using. On the right top, you can see this crawler used in the Ligurian Sea for benthic studies, but many other platforms are used. Some of them are self-made, so they are custom-made in-house, and some of them are more commercial ones, but as you see, they are quite different, all of them. And I wanted to make an emphasis to the EGIM platform. The EGIM is the EMSO Generic Instrument Module. This is something that was designed in a project that, let's say, a cornerstone of EMSO, because as you see, all the EMSO observatories are quite different, and we wanted a platform that could help at least have a set of variables with high quality from all the different sites. We are not there yet to have this platform in all the observatories, but we are working on it. There are 2-3 observatories that are operating them regularly. And now this EGIM platform, we are very happy because in the George project, it has been upgraded with new, with a lander, rechargeable batteries, and with a lot of new sensors for measuring carbon parameters, pH, total alkalinity, dissolved organic carbon, PCO2, methane. So this gave a good boost to the EGIM, and we are very happy about it. Last week, it was recovered from a 5,000 meter depth deployment, 1 year deployed in the PAP observatory. And now we need to see the data, how it will look like. Okay, I think we have like 5 more minutes. So this is a preliminary inventory. We were trying to see, well, since we have so many different things, to see what we have, and we still are mostly like using the surface buoys, the mooring lines, and the seafloor observatories as the basis of the EMSO infrastructure. But other platforms are being introduced. I have been talking about platforms, but about sensors, we also have a wide variety. As Ingrid commented, we are measuring a lot of different variables for different topics, like from oceanography, geophysics, biology, and some of them are for the air-sea interaction studies. So all these variables and sensors are found in the EMSO observatories. Also, the same preliminary inventory gave us that the CTV is one of the most the most used sensor, which maybe makes sense, as you probably all of you know the CTV. And then the ADCP, oxygen, and hydrophone for sound. No, these are the 4 more used sensors. But then there are new sensors being tested. And then, as I said before, we are starting to use the fiber optics cables for as sensors as well. And also the smart nodes, we want to introduce them in the consortium. Just for you to have a little idea of what it involves to keep all this infrastructure running. I put here some examples of operations that the different regional facilities do to have them running. Some of them do maintenance every 12 months. For example, Azores now wants to move to a 24-month period for maintenance. Some they do it every 6 months because maybe they are closer or they need specific maintenance procedures. And for the test sites, like for example, like Cusi, they go there very often, like every 2-3 weeks to check the experiments, because they are running a lot of different technologies and experiments. And just to document how they are going, clean, check things, they need to go more often. So the observatory sites, usually they need a big research vessel with a remotely operated vehicle. Sometimes they would go just, for example, retrieve a mooring, change sensors for calibrated ones, or just refurbish some sensors and then deploy again. For the test sites, as I said, with a small boat and some divers, you can do the job. But this maintenance is really one of the biggest costs of operating the EMSO infrastructure. So of course we are looking for ways to reduce this cost. So I'm already going to the end, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that we try to, all the regional facilities are run by very skilled people with a lot of knowledge in instrument operation. So they use the best practices, different methodologies that are that have been tested. But at the same time, in the engineering and logistics group, we try to set up groups to bring together and to kind of join all the efforts and try to find the best of the best practices, let's say. And for example, this we are doing now with the ADCP, which is an instrument that maybe a lot of people are using, but it has its tricks and its complexities. So we are collaborating with a metrology lab from the French Navy, and we are doing some work with them for that. Finally, data communications and delivery. Some data comes in real time, some data in delayed mode. It depends on the observatories. If it's a very offshore observatory, some subsets of data can be available in real time using a buoy to relay some information from the seabed that it has been transmitted acoustically. This is what, for example, Azores is doing. And then when you have an optical fiber, of course, the thing is very different. You can transmit images, sound, and a lot of other complex data streams. So yeah, this is my last slide. Last year, as it has been mentioned before, we did an EMSO workshop that brought a lot of the EMSO stakeholders together. We talked about technology, and we came up with a plan. That's something that we would like to have in 10 years. We would like to have eDNA sensor, autonomous eDNA sensors, work more on the carbon sensors as well. Like, for example, we are doing in George. Implement operational marine biology using AI, more work on the hazard sensing sensors, and then also using robotics and other platforms, try to be more present everywhere, not just in fixed points. So using the telecom cables, like the distributed optical fiber sensing, and then gliders, robots, and all these kind of things. We would also like to make provide more autonomy to the observatories by finding new energy sources, more wireless communication, and edge computing to compute and process data on the edge and then transmit maybe subsets of data. And then regarding the software and IT, keep working on AI, on bioacoustics, adaptive sampling, and also optimizing the distribution of the sensors so that we are more efficient and we know where we need to deploy the sensors. So yeah, thank you for your time. Now I will give the floor to Eric Delory, that is the regional team leader of the EMSO Canarias, that is a facility run by Plocan.
Let's zoom in on to one of these regional facilities that have been mentioned so many times in the first presentations. EMSO Canarias includes ESTOC in particular as a site, and that will be the focus of my presentation. We'll talk about context and operations, quality assurance, and some results and evolution of the observation system. ESTOC is located in the subtropical gyre on the Central Eastern Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and is part of the following research infrastructure landscape: EMSO, known as EMSO Canarias as well, for ESTOC, and ICOS, which are both infrastructures that ESTOC is contributing to. EMSO for contextual information and oceanography, and other essential ocean variables, and ICOS with a carbon focus. The partners involved are the Meteorological Agency with respect to ICOS, PLOCAN, ULPGC more focused on EMSO and ICOS, and CESIC for both for the ship operations. The main scientific objectives are to maintain a multidisciplinary open ocean long-term time series that started in '94, to resolve interannual and seasonal variability for the stratification and circulation of the ocean, investigate biogeochemistry in the area, and provide a reference site for European and international ocean studies in the region. We are in an open ocean context, besides being close to the islands, which eases the regional access capacity so that we can maintain in a cost-effective way the observing systems located at ESTOC, which is about 60 nautical miles north of Gran Canaria, where my pointer is. Location is part of the science, and basically, as I mentioned earlier, gyre variability, ventilation, biogeochemistry, seasonality are of interest for the science in the area and beyond. I mentioned the entities earlier. So PLOCAN, where I work, the Met station, the Met agency that is acting as the national ICOS coordination and Spanish carbon data integration in the current institutional framework, the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, which brings carbon expertise, but also oceanographic expertise, the CESIC for the ship support and associated oceanographic references for service operations. So ESTOC is what we can call an operational chain. It's not only a station, it's a managed measurement chain. It includes different workflow activities, deployment, recovery, using and deploying at-sea references, review the data in delayed mode, and deliver data for the scientific community and societal needs. This is the mooring, the main historical mooring, which is made of a surface buoy where several data products are produced for meteorology, for physics, for carbon and chemistry, and also for general control of the station, and to detect potential issues or change configuration of sampling, among others. Then there is an upper and intermediate line, which includes down to 100 meters and then 150 meters, a frame with hydrographical sensors that observe oxygen, optics, nitrates, and while I'm mentioning optics, fluorometers, nitrates, then current through either pointwise or current profilers. Then there is a deep line with an acoustic release, and with this deep line, we also embed in certain deployments sediment traps and additional sensors. The observing logic then is to send real-time data from the station buoy and have delayed mode data recovered from the maintenance schedule. And at this moment, we are currently testing an acoustic communication for real-time communication down to 150 meters for the frame. ESTOC measures data then for meteorology, hydrography, biogeochemistry, and ocean circulation. I will not go through all variables, but that gives you an overview of the breadth of contributions and which is generally the case for most observatories in EMSO. Sometimes it also adds geohazards, which is not the case at ESTOC yet, but we're looking forward to that in the future as well. Biology is of interest to us as well, and we are currently, besides the more conventional variables like chlorophyll, adding also biological sensors and hoping to start to have trends measurements in the future as well. The idea is then to not see the station as just a set of measurements, but as a suite of sensors that could keep evolving over time as a function of the needs, and to keep as well the time series alive, and in order to produce long-term trends for the to improve the knowledge of the health of the ocean. And from the carbon focus, PCO2 and pH have been also highlighted in lots of reports, considering the importance of these variables for ocean acidification, greenhouse gases, climate change. The field cycles of operation include the preparation of the entire mooring, mounting all sensors, deploying them, deploying the mooring, recovery of the mooring 6 months or 1 year afterwards. Generally 1 year is the scale in the past, but we are aiming for 6 months operation in order to have better quality data, retrieve data, and refurbish the system. And this goes on back to stage 1 every 6 months from 2025, every 1 year in the past decade. Generally, this includes lab checks, use of standards for referencing sensors, checking communications, and ensuring mounting plans are an agreement with the monitoring strategy. And as you can see here, then we use different types of equipment also on board the ship to do what we call the standard checks on board, so that we ensure that besides having sensors, all sensors are referenced to laboratory measurements that are taken on shore for quality assurance and quality control. Which leads me to that slide. And as mentioned earlier, the photos you saw includes rosette and sampling from the water column and the surface. And generally what we do is to check how sensors are behaving, whether they should be replaced at recovery. We intercompare as well with thanks to the water samples taken on board the ship. We compare to salinity standards, all the CTDs, and for oxygen, just to give another example, we proceed with the Winkler protocol in order to decide whether oxygen sensors are fit for purpose, needs to be changed or maintained, like change of membrane. And these are 2 examples of the typical sensors that are generally checked systematically. This is the history of all the data and operations that have taken place at ESTOC. So it dates back to 1994 and up to present. I won't go into the detail, but you can see that lots of institutions have been involved. And some results here, I will just go through a subset. But as you can probably see, historically, the station has produced relevant data for carbonate chemistry, and the pH and PCO2, which are important variables for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, where we are observing this trend of decreasing pH, decreasing acidification, while at the same time, and as a cause, PCO2 is increasing at the surface. And this has been validated as well with atmospheric measurements at the Isania Observatory in Tenerife. We're not only measuring carbon chemistry at surface, but also through the water column. I don't have time to go through that, but I've named the reference in case you're interested. And also beyond carbonate chemistry, chlorophyll, nitrate for further ecosystem measurements have been also historically measured at the station and intercompared with the BAT station on the other side of the Atlantic. So it's important to note the great variability that we can observe, and this has been documented thanks to the station among other stations in the network of deep ocean observatories in the basin. Another example of the importance of these deep moorings is to have at one single point the variability, seasonal and annual, interannual, and at depth that occurs for ocean circulation that can be used as contextual information as well for carbon and ecology. ESTOC is one of several of ocean stations in the Atlantic and in the Pacific that have been operating for long enough to be able to produce long time series and intercomparison that validate and calibrate models for prediction. And I think this is probably one of the major takeaway messages, that is, these stations are important to calibrate what models can produce today because this is long-term data that is invaluable and has been also cross-validated across different basins. We're also looking at ocean dynamics, and we can see correlations between lots of stations and some singularities as well. And so here a reference for that. And I will move through a bit faster now. I only have 5 minutes left through the technology that is in operation where we are and how we move, technologically speaking, and in order to respond to scientific and societal requirements as they come up, but also for the historical ones and for the key scientific questions that were raised earlier in EMSO. So we operate a fixed open ocean site, but we also use mobile platforms, gliders that go 2 to 4 times a year to the station, and that gives contextual information also beyond what is the single point. The offshore platform, Plocan, is also used for coastal observation, but mainly with respect to EMSO as a test platform for new technologies. The seasonal mission line is about 200 nautical miles, transects, and lasts 3 weeks, measures generally temperature, carbon, conductivity, and O2. And other associated variables are also added depending on the system and the projects that this accompanies the mission. It can be acoustics, it can be plankton. So these platforms are more and more fit for taking different payloads that go beyond the classical ones. We've been also observing ocean sound at ESTOC, and hopefully you can hear that. This is a sperm whale that has been observed from the surface, and the sound has been recorded 150-meter depth continuously. So this tells us that that we are probably able to use also these stations for marine mammal acoustics, but also measuring ocean sound and noise to contribute to other essential ocean variables like ocean sound and biodiversity for megafauna. Cable methods, as Simo mentioned earlier, are important to us. Two systems are currently being installed at the offshore platform and for testing new sensor technologies, but also to measure coastal variables, which is a side product. And EMSO is open ocean, but as we know, coastal installations can be used also for tests before going open ocean for long-term deployments. DAS is a very important emerging technology that we are currently testing through the Aljaz project, where EMSO is also supporting us. And we're glad to share results soon, probably in 2027, so that we can also increase the breadth, the geographical breadth of the deep ocean measurements in the area. Projects, R&D is also at the core of our work. Nexus is one, but there have been others. Atlantico is another. We've been experimenting also deployments of zooplankton imaging systems along side moorings, and also accompanying sediment traps measurements. And thanks to this project, we've also been able to deliver 2 decades of sediment trap data that have been recorded in the past since the 90s, which is now openly accessible thanks to collaboration with the University of Bremen. We're also opening up now to other types of issues, which are unfortunately very famous now, microplastics. So also sediment traps, as I mentioned earlier, could be also instrumental in doing that. This is underway science that has been published here in this paper that you can see by Montato and et al. And finally, and I think this is close to my last slide, the importance of being part of EMSO has been also to help us publish our data according to standards and make it machine readable and ingestible by models that are highly in need of in situ data. I would like to thank all my colleagues at Plocan, but also at the University of Las Palmas, the Institute on Climate Change, at CSIC, the Met Agency, EMSO and ICOS colleagues, and the scientific community making sense of the data we produce. Thank you very much for your attention.
Now I will present you a little bit of EMSO data management, how we deal here in EMSO with data. So you already hear this already 3 or 4 times, that EMSO is distributed research infrastructure, but I would like to mention that we have around 130 different physical and biogeochemical parameters. And our goal with data is to offer fair data services to scientific community. So initial approach with EMSO data idea was to have a centralized system. So to have only everything in one place, upload the data in one place, but this didn't work out. And so the current approach is a federated data infrastructure, utilizing ERDAP for enhanced data distribution and retrieval. Today, Ingrid already mentioned ERDAP and a few pictures or photo of the system. But to this federated system to work, everything must be harmonized. So what I mean with harmonized, this means if somebody wants to access EMSO data at once, so it, for example, it connects to our central system, and he wants to get the data from from 3 or more different facilities at the same time. This system will, for example, wants to get a temperature for different regional facilities, and if temperature in one facility is called temperature, another temp, in the third seawater temperature, then this system basically fail. So now we are working already many years to have this fixed, so that we have temperature always, and also other 130 variables always the same name. So the benefits of harmonization is to enable common data access through ERDAP, and also provides one size-fits-all data access tool. So now you can, once you have everything harmonized, you can build on these many different tools as you want. And the challenges here is that every regional facility is in charge to harmonize and maintain its data through, for example, in using through our data management service group, will provide help and guidance in this regard. So also why it's this important to have harmonized fair data in one place? Because scientists can focus on science and not on finding and fixing data. So they should not take time every time to change if one variable is the same in one regional facility as another. This should be already done. In this way, they should have more time to analyze, interpret, and collaborate in research with others. Also, standardize data, improve reproducibility and trust, and in this way, accelerate scientific progress by removing technical barriers. So this is a figure of our system. So this is a federated system. So you have a central access point, and then you have ERDAP servers deployed in a regional facility. And ERDAP is an open source software developed by NOAA. And as you see, it's deployed at the regional facilities scales, and then we have a central ERDAP access point. And the data are still managed at the regional facilities level. So we just give them that guidance, and then they have to apply the changes. And this system, as I said in the beginning, to work, everything must be fully harmonized. So why we choose to use ERDAP? ERDAP is very good because it's a data broker. So this means that it's just in the middle between facilities and the user. And in this way, it's very easy to change different formats of data. You can basically choose whatever you want as an output. It also has some graphical interface. You can generate these APIs, download data. And also, as I mentioned, it supports creation of federated networks as our EMSO federated network. And this is how it looks like ERDAP, data on ERDAP. It's not, doesn't seem very user-friendly, but it's made basically to do other applications and to share ERDAP. The user-friendliness is in other data sharing applications. So the harmonized system is based on EMSO metadata standard. This is a custom EMSO metadata specification document, which is based itself on Ocean Sites data format, but it's just slightly adapted to the needs of EMSO. Is version control, human readable, machine actionable, and also define a set of compliance tests that I will show you later. And everything is available in GitHub and Zenodo. EMSO uses several controlled vocabularies from NERC vocabulary service. And this is, for example, an output from our metadata harmonizer tool. This is a Python tool that check all the data that are in our regional facilities, and if they are according to our metadata specification document, and then also give tips how to improve their metadata to be compliant with the EMSO metadata standard. And also this tool is available in GitHub. So using this tool through the years now already, we are gradually improving our metadata score. So in 2023, for example, we had only 50 datasets, and the score was around 30%. But today we have 191 datasets, and we are more than 90%, 92% now. And also you can see how different regional facilities were added to the federated structures. We also have a federated data management plan. This is, I think, a specialty of EMSO. So also our data management plan is federated. So we have central data management plan, and in this one, it's included the federated data management plans of our regional facilities. Some recent upgrades. So now, in the beginning, we were missing some definition, standards, vocabularies of our regional facilities platforms. But now also this was solved with the OSO, which means Observatories of SIS Ontology. This is basically a mind map for computers. And as I said, it's standardized EMSO facilities, sites name, platform types. And for example, Simo already mentioned how our regional facilities, sites, platforms work. So now is everything also up to standard. So why does it matter? It's because now everything is can be read by a machine. It's fair, discoverable, reusable, also AI ready, interoperable with other data aggregators. And so it's good. It's a good step forward. Also some work in progress. So for this year, we have planned to reach 100%. So from 92 to 100. We are working on harmonizing other types of data, for example, pictures, acoustic data, seismic data. Harmonize our QC. This is work done in our article about the QC. For example, now some of our data have very high QC control. For example, temperature is around 70, but oxygen only 7% of our data are quality controlled, and improve the fairness of our data. For example, there is this Fuji tool, and our score was a few months ago was 72. So now we are also trying to improve this also by adding other DUIs. Here I want to mention also EMSO data center Nereide. We migrated to this data center in 2024 from basically from Amazon private servers to this server. And Nereide stands for New Research Infrastructure Data Center for EMSO. It was basically built by Stefano Chiappini and Stefano Cacciaguera from IMGV. and founded by the Italian National Operational Program in sea. It's located in Sicily, and it has these around 2,600 cores and 3.6 petabyte of disk. So now I would like also to give you a short overview of our data. And for example, these are the location of our data in the central ERDAP. And yeah, and this is, for example, a plot of our all temperature data from regional facilities. And maybe you can see already from your naked eye that the temperature is slightly increasing from during the years. And that spike of temperature around 90 degrees is it's correct. It's the sensor was close to, it's in a source close to hydrothermal vent, so it's pretty warm and toasted down there. And this is, for example, salinity data from all our regional facilities. Here you can also see increase, for example, in the South Adriatic Sea. You can see how the salinity is increasing in Mediterranean. And also, for example, here is the salt oxygen from our regional facility. So here we have a little bit less data, but we are, of course, trying to improve also in this regard. And here are some data count from, for example, for salinity and temperature. And here is only worth mentioning that seems that in the last year we have a little bit less data, but this is just because it needs some time to data to be quality controlled and upload to the ERDAP. And this is, for example, data count from in regard to the depth of the data, how many data we have at different depths. So we have this figure show that we have more data close to the surface, but this is because usually these facilities are close to the shore, so they are cabled and they have high frequency of uploading the data. Just this. And this is an example of temperature trends. For example, Ligurian Sea temperature observation, like 20 years at I think no, it's around 2,000 meter depth. So you can see a little bit of how the temperature is increasing even at around 2,000 meter depth. And also some example of salinity trend example. So here you can see also in the South Adriatic how salinity is also getting higher values just on the naked eye. And why do we need all these observations? So, for example, this is a map of the last 15 years of deep ocean temperature data at 1,000 meter depth. So, so it shows the average increase of temperature, 1,000 meter depth. And these kind of maps or figures can really help the decision maker, the policy maker, make their informed decision for policy and stakeholders. So for summary, I explain a little bit about our ERDAP, how we are improving harmonization with the EMSO specification document, and give a short overview of our EMSO data about trends. And that's it about this part. Okay, we are ready now. So you already heard this few minutes ago, so I will not repeat it. Also about the ERDAP. So, and this was explained before by Eric and also by Simo, that basically most of our data come from the moorings, these steel cables that have a sensor attached. So for each data set, you can have more of one value for a data set. So you can have different temperature for different depths. This is just for you to remember. The goal of this hands-on, that at the end of this exercise, you would be able to draw some figure like this and share it in the chat if you're able to do it. And from, not just from ERDAP, but just with taking the link from ERDAP and then use it to plot in maybe in some of your tool of preference or whatever, Python or MATLAB or whatever you use. So this is the goal. So I will show you 3 different ways to plot some data with EMSO. So the first is the easiest one, is through the data portal. Then the most important of today is using ERDAP. And also I will just touch a little bit about future EMSO data portals that we are currently testing and hopefully we'll have very soon. So the first, but before you want to plot anything, it's good to just check a little bit what data EMSO has and learn a little bit about this data. So if you go to the EMSO website, if you connect to EMSO website, and if you go to the data tab, and if you go to the data portal, you can check a little bit our sites, for example, Ligurian Sea, and then you can read a little bit where they are located, what variables they are taking, which variables they're taking. Some general information is good to start before you start working with the variables. And then, for example, with this data portal tool, you can plot these very simple plots like this. And now I will show you how to plot this kind of plots. So you go again to this data on our site, and then you go on the bottom of the page, you go to these plots, you click there, and then you have you get these plots, and you select a data set, choose a line, and then a variable, and then you'll get this plot. So this is maybe if you want to just do some very fast plot just to check a little bit something. And then I imagine you all finished that plot. Yeah, I see thumbs up. Good. Now I will show you this the base, the most important part, which is through the ERDAP system. That I already said that this is a data server platform to distribute and visualize data. It's good for temporal and spatial subsetting. You can use different data formats. You have tools to visualize the data and export data as images. The server provides a RESTful API, and the URL to access the data completely defines the output. And overall enables direct user exploration and automated machine access. So with ERDAP, at the end, we generate these URLs, these kind of APIs. And by understanding a little bit this URL, you can just change this URL, and you will get you will retrieve the data, the variables, whatever you want without connecting again to ERDAP. So you can build some application or something like this. So if we explore that URL, you can see different colors are for different parts of this URL. So the first part is just a base URL, just say which AirDAP it is. Then you have data type, dataset ID. Then you have the desired file format. This you can choose whatever you want. And then you have also selected variables and constraints. So here you can see, say, I don't know, I want this data of the depth from this depth of this depth, or for this time to that time. And you can choose the variables that are available and all these kind of things once you have this URL generated. Don't go back again to the AirDAP. So let's find some data in this AirDAP. So you can find the data in AirDAP in different ways. So let's go first. Let's first to connect to AirDAP. So you can go to our data tab and then just click AirDAP. And you can, for example, search for that data set that we explored before. You can just write in this inside the search bar DIFAMET CTD, and it will find that data set. Or there is another way also to go to click on this view a list of all data sets. Now you can click there, and there you can go on the first line where is the list of all active data sets of that AirDAP. And there you can click on data. And here you can constrain, basically you can set latitude, longitude, min, max, or depth, or something like this. And then it will find your data sets that you are searching for. So these are the two ways that you can find the data in the AirDAP directly. So once you found the data, the good step is to check its metadata. So to check its metadata, you just click on M, which stands for metadata. So here you will have all the description of basically all the description that nearly exist about this data, and all the who made it, on which standards, what kind of variables, everything on which cruise, which ship, everything, it's here inside. But it's always good to also check for example, the QC. In this example is temperature QC, and you can see that is described which in this case which data are good or have QC done. And for example, you have unknown, and then you have good data, then you have probably good data, and you have the numbers below. So if you want a good data, you have to select temperature QC equal 1. If you want to have quality control, good data, you have to go select temperature QC and equal 1. But it's always good to read all the metadata that some data sets has, so to learn about them as much as possible. Okay, now that we know how to find the data, how to read about all the description in the metadata, we can also do some graphs about this data. So you go just to your data set and you push on graph. So you go there, and in this example, I want first to, for example, to plot the depth of these data sets, so I can see if these data sets has taken measurements of, for example, temperature in different depths, or it's only one measurement at one depth. So I have a little bit clearer idea of the data I'm dealing with. And I can also select already here the temperature QC and put it equal 1 so that I will only have the good data. But this is only if you, I don't know, if you want to be more already more specific. And then down, you can set which kind of data format you want. If you want to generate an URL just to share the figure, or if you want to download this data, this is all decided in this file type. If you select the file type as an image, you will get the image. If you select as a data, for example, CSV, you will get a data to download. So let's now decide to plot the data here that are between 950 meters and 1050 meter depth, because here we saw that we have some data at around 1000 meter. So we can decide to plot some data between 950 and 1050 meters, so it's around 1000 meter depth. Okay, we put here lines, time, temperature, for example, temperature, and we plot this data. And then we can select here, for example, a CSV to export the data, or just to generate a URL with this CSV data. I hope you are managed to follow this a little bit, at least on my slides also. And then once you have this, generate this URL, you can copy paste it in some of your scripts, whichever script you want to plot directly from this URL, or you can download it on your computer, whatever you want. So I generated, for example, this URL, and I saw that, for example, for the Python, the best is just .csv, and for MATLAB is .csv 0. But this is just with testing. You can just try and see what works. And once you have this URL, you can generate some script that will plot this data. So in this way, you construct some application, whatever you want. And then if you want to select a different time or a different variable, you just change from temperature, I don't know, to PSAL, to salinity, or whatever you want. In this way, once you have generated this URL, you don't need anymore to go to ERDA, but you just have your script and you plot some data directly from your script. It works like this. Or this example for the Jupyter script, or also some for MATLAB script. And then you generate this kind of plots.